fluttering wings can keep you from pulling me down.
Hi, I'm Pierre Escobar from Riviera Macro, and today I'm gonna show you how to take beautiful pictures of butterflies. This is a very particular place. It's quite secluded. We are up high in the mountains in a quite a remote area, and there's never anybody. And in July it's fantastic because all the small lavender fields that you can see behind me are in full bloom, and they're just covered with hundreds of butterflies. It's like a butterfly garden. So this is indeed the perfect location to do a tutorial on butterfly macro photography or proxy photography. I'm going to show you what kind of gear to use and how to approach the butterflies to get nice pictures. So let's get started. First setup. The first lens I'm going to be using today is a 150mm macro lens. Why 150? Because 100 doesn't give you enough reach. The butterflies, you just fly away. You have to get too close. The working distance is too small. 150 gives you a good working distance, and it's appropriate for proxy photography. I'm going to be using my IRIX 150 and couple it with the Z6, which is filming me right now, because I need the focus peaking. My D800 doesn't have the focus peaking. So let's go take some pictures.
Your mama says I'm a fool, and yeah, maybe that's true, 'cause I can't stop thinking about you.
Second setup, use a longer lens. You can use anything above 200mm for proxy photography, basically. Myself, I have a 300 PF Fresnel lens, a Nikon, and it's fantastic. This was probably one of my best acquisitions. This lens is extremely compact. It's 300, you see the size, and it's very light, and the sharpness is unbelievable. It's an f4 lens too, and the minimum working distance on this is 1.4 meters. So about the distance from me here to the camera. So I can approach very shy insects with this and still get good magnification with the native lens. It's an incredible tool for proxy photography. I've done fantastic pictures with this one. Now, when I want to get even more close-up shots, portraits of butterflies, as we want to do today, what I do is I pair the lens with an extension ring. The extension ring will come here and will increase the magnification of the lens. So I can't focus to infinity anymore, but I get close-up portraits of insects while maintaining at least a meter of working distance. So I'll be using these two in combination today to get some more pictures.
I'm flying.
Or you've just seen me run after the butterflies. To chase or not to chase? Well, chasing is a way to get the pictures you want because you get the right framing, the right light, you get into position, but the butterflies don't always come to you. There's two options. You can just go after them, or wait, like sit in a place like this and look at the lavenders around and see what comes to you. If you stay still, there will be insects coming to you. It's a choice. It depends on the animals and the situation. In this case, there were two large swallowtails, which are not that common, and I wanted to get them in the nice light with a nice bokeh, and I actually got two of them on the same picture, which is rare, and so I had to chase them. You've seen me walk around the lavenders. I'm very careful not to trample any plants. It's, be careful if you're in a garden or in nature not to just trample everything. So what settings to use? For the butterflies, they're moving insects, so you want to keep your speed rather high. In any case, you shouldn't be lower than 1 over the focal length of your lens. So if you use a 150, you should be above 1/150th of a second. And for the 300 millimeter, it's 1/300th of a second. I nevertheless recommend to go a bit higher. 1/500th of a second is a good setting. You must set up your ISO accordingly. There's no problem with noise now with modern cameras, so you can ramp up the ISO. And just use aperture priority mode, which is the most convenient for macro and proxy photography. Look at this, it's paradise. I don't even have to chase the butterflies, they'll come to me. And it's a good time to speak about something important, which is framing and bokeh and composition. In general, in macro and proxy, you want to shoot at subject level. It's the way to get nice backgrounds. If you shoot top down, you're gonna get horrible backgrounds. Here, for example, the lavenders are very dense. If I shoot from my height towards the flowers, I'm gonna get all this very messy background with lots of flowers and grass very close to the insect. It's not gonna be nice. So what I'm trying to do here is get at the level of the tip of the lavenders, so I get a sufficient perspective that the insects are isolated from their background as much as possible. And of course, the longer the lens, the better the isolation of the subject. So basically, I'm not moving from my chair, but I'm just go down a bit and do like this, and I just see the tip of the lavenders, and behind it's all, background perspective. And so I get very nice bokeh. And if I go chasing butterflies after I take a little break, well, I'm going to crouch in the flowers and try to shoot the butterflies with nothing behind them. You could also shoot upwards to have the sky behind the butterfly, but you have to be careful with exposure because you may end up with a silhouette, a dark butterfly against a white or blue background if you don't use flash, which is another question. So I've taken a number of images, and another thing I want to mention is the light. Butterflies have transparent wings, so it's very nice always to shoot them against the light, with the light coming from behind, so it can illuminate the insect. You won't get overexposed because you don't shoot directly against the sun, but the light is coming in your direction and it will give beautiful transparency to the wings. So I highly recommend that you try the technique, maybe overexpose a bit to brighten the dark areas, and you should get fantastic images like this. And what about autofocus? Well, modern cameras have fast autofocus, but I don't think they can follow a butterfly in flight. They just fly too quickly. So myself, I prefer to use manual focus, pre-focus on my subject, adjust manually. I use focus peaking on the Z6 camera. If you want to use autofocus, use a continuous autofocus and just burst shoot, so at least one of your images is going to be perfectly in focus on the eye of the insect. Now, if you want another challenge, you can try in-flight shots of butterflies. Definitely you need to use a much higher speed. You want to be above 1/2000th of a second if you want to have a chance to have an image that's pretty sharp. And the problem is going to be the focus. So the technique I'd recommend is to use manual focus, pre-focus on the insect, use an aperture that will cover a sufficient area, such as f8 or f11. You might sacrifice a bit of bokeh, but you have a chance to catch the insect within that zone when it starts flying. Just use burst rate with the fastest burst rate you can use on your camera. Click away, and you're going to be throwing away 99% of your images. On a previous session here in this field of lavenders, I discarded 600 pictures just to keep 4 or 5, but I was successful. So I'm going to try again today, get some more images, and I'll show you the results right after this.
I'm trying not to forget my words, 'cause when I'm around you, I tend to keep changing my.
So it's been a fantastic morning. I've enjoyed myself. There's no one here around in the garden. only the thousands of butterflies. And I'm going to have a drink of water and put my hat on because it's getting warm and continue chasing the butterflies, taking more pictures and some video. I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial. Drop me a like if you have questions. And in the next episode we might actually go chase dragonflies. So I'll see you then. Bye bye.